Glad you could make it. I guess, well, I started the top of the show talking about that ridiculous kiss cam from the Coldplay thing. I'm so tired of it. But like I said, it just opened up a lot more, avenues of discussion about privacy and stupidity. Look, we've all had our indiscretions. But I think when you're a billionaire and the head of a huge company, maybe you got to be a little more subtle with things. You can't act like you did with your buddies, hanging out with your buddies. You used to do that. Hey, don't tell this one I did this. I went out with this girl. Like, what are you, crazy? You don't do that. Just a little PSA for everyone out there. Discretion. The better part of valor? Is that how the saying goes? All right, first thing I really want to talk about, though, aside from that nonsense, the anniversary of the moon landing. Oh, I could hear the people now. What moon landing, Anthony? I thought you were smarter than that. This is something I get into with people constantly. Did we go to the moon? Did the United States of America plop 2 astronauts down on the moon on this very day in 1969? Boy, I used to believe this with every part of me. Now, don't get me wrong. I am not saying the moon landing was faked. I still believe that people went to the moon. But man, the pushback, it has an effect. And it's not even the people that are, the flat earthers, that collection of imbeciles, or the people that don't believe we went to the moon. That isn't who's swaying me or getting me to even doubt myself at all. It's the lies that I see coming out of our government every single day. And it makes me very, 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 very leery about what I've been told by the government in the past. Things I believed and didn't have a doubt. Absolutely believed it. And when you used to have to take that little bit of leap of faith, you'd give the benefit of the doubt to the government. Because, look, the moon landing is one of those things that we don't have tangible proof where I can look at something or feel something or have experienced something that guarantees we'd been to the moon. I've seen pictures, and I believe them, videos, artifacts that are still on the moon that have been seen by other spacecraft, by telescopes right here on Earth. So that would lead me to believe that, yes, we have been to the moon. But you have to have a bit of faith in who's telling you that, because everything you see is kind of secondhand, You're not really seeing it for yourself. I'm being told this is a moon rock when I go to the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum and I take a look at a moon rock. I'm being told that's a moon rock. So I have to have some faith that the people telling me this are telling me the truth. And, that faith in the government has absolutely been eroded away over the course of time. So, 8-year-old Lil Anthony sitting there late at night watching the coverage of the Apollo 11 moon landing, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin with Mike Collins orbiting the moon, waiting for them to finish up, dock up again and then return safely to Earth as heroes. Heroes. And, from that time, or at least from the last Apollo mission, Apollo 17, I believe that was 72, we just kind of had people saying it never happened. And the one thing I always used as the argument is, why would they lie, first of all? And how could you get away with such a giant conspiracy? We landed on the moon. Millions, there are billions. The whole planet watched. And it went off without a hitch. Nothing, a big spotlight didn't fall when they were showing Neil Armstrong taking those first steps on the moon. I didn't see any strings. It looked to me like I would have imagined a human being walking on the moon would look, with less gravity than we have here and no atmosphere to speak of. So I believed it. Now we're in 2025, and all I've heard about everything is how our government has lied to us. And I want to believe we went to the moon, and I still do. Like I said, I still do. But I may be just banking all that on this nostalgic trust issue and the fact that I want us to have gone to the moon. And I don't want to, and I think this happens with a lot of lies that we get from the government. You don't want to feel vulnerable or stupid. I believed it, and then if you're told it didn't happen, you're going to feel pretty stupid and naive. And, you believed someone, you trusted a government, but, an entity. And then you're told you're a jackass. So, maybe some of that factors in. But here's the other thing. On the other side of it, why I truly do believe we went to the moon, and it's not so much the government just telling me, and that's all the proof I have. I enjoy science and astronomy and astrophysics and all the things that make it possible for space travel. And it just makes sense. Everything that was put out there that brought us to the moon makes scientific sense. And everything I hear from the skeptics and from the people that say we never went and we definitely didn't go, it just seems like they're coming up with these reasons and pseudoscience to tell you why we didn't go. And a lot of these can be refuted without somebody having to just say, well, they told me. It's, some of it is basic physics. Some of it's common sense. And a lot of the things that they use to try to tell people that we never went to the moon, they can be easily debunked. So I do believe that in 1969, on this very date, July 20th, we did. I believe we did go to the moon, and Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin set foot on the moon, did a couple of experiments, plopped that American flag down there, took off, linked back up with the command module, and safely returned to Earth. I still believe it based on science, not because somebody told me. But again, let's look at the stuff we're seeing. And we're going to be talking about this tonight. Obviously, the Epstein files that Donald Trump has gone off and said was a Democrat hoax. Can I believe that? I mean, I voted for Donald Trump. I support him as president. I'm a Republican. I'm not a crazy right-wing hard conservative. I have some liberal ideologies when it comes to basic, basic empathy for human beings that some people say conservatives do not have. But there are a lot of things going on these days that make you look at the past and go, well, when did this start? When did the unregulated lying, when did it start? Was it 4 years ago, 8 years ago? Has it always been that way? And if that's the case, what can I believe? I don't think I can believe anything. And that's the problem when it comes to things like the moon landing. I believe it, but they've put me in a position where I'm finding it harder and harder to defend my belief that I believe it. Because at some point there you do need to make a leap of faith in some aspect that you weren't lied to. And that's where they can get you on this. Well, you are lied to. Who are you talking about? The government? Look what they do every day. They lie, Pee-wee. So we'll be talking about that a lot more. Of course, we have Clown of the Week coming up. A new person. Not the usual, but somebody that obviously they're a clown because they work in an industry full of clowns, some of which we've featured on this program. So stick around for that and a lot more just starting tonight with the Anthony Cumia Show. Be right back. Just talking about the anniversary of the moon landing, 1969, July 20th. And I'm getting some feedback. We'll take your calls, of course, 800-848-9222. But I was just looking in my at my X feed here, and I'm being called what's the word? Retard. That's what I've been called because somebody here is commenting. This guy RGZ Mac. What about the Van Allen belt, Anthony? And what about the phone call from Nixon to the guys on the moon? See, again, these are things that they come up with that are easily refuted. Many scientists have said it's absolutely possible and feasible for humans to survive going through the radiation belt, the protective magnetic field around the planet Earth that keeps all that crazy radiation from space from getting to us. They position the ship in a certain way where there's a lot of mass between them and the radiation. Now, scientists have said this, and I'm willing to believe scientists that don't seem to have an agenda. I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. The Nixon phone call is the most ridiculous thing that these "we didn't land on the moon" guys bring up. What do you think? Dick Nixon sitting there in the White House? What's the number of the lunar module? And he just picked up the phone. Do I have to dial 9 for an outside line? Henry, help me out. It was the White House, yes, President Nixon on the phone to Houston. He was talking on the phone to Houston Mission Control, who then patched that call through to the guys on the Apollo 11 capsule. He didn't call them from the moon. It wasn't from the moon. They were in transit in the command module at the time. But it's very easy to call up a place with the radio. NASA's talking with them. Mission Control's speaking with the astronauts. So, of course. So silly. So silly. Didn't happen. Nixon calling him? That's crazy. Henry, help me out here. What's the area code for the moon? Insane. Scott from Virginia. What's up, Scott?
Well, Anthony, Welcome
Hi.
back to your triumphant return to the radio.
I love it. Thank you, sir.
I got to tell you, this is not at all what I expected. I mean, who really knew what to expect? So I was kind of thinking, all right, I mean, I followed you guys the whole time. I'm not going to draw it out forever, but I've been with you guys a long time. Mm-hmm. And, when you came back to the radio, I was like, okay, is this just going to be, do we pick up with the Anthony show? Is it going to be, the old days? And what I found it to be has just been fantastic. It's your show. It's a different take, And I think some of us have grown up a little bit in the last decade or changed, and you've changed with it. And I love where you landed with this.
Scott, thank you. That's very nice of you to say. And truth of the matter is, you have to have some self-reflection and realize that once you are in your 60s, being a shock jock kind of looks a little silly on you. I love humor. I love having fun, making jokes, even about whatever's going on in the news. But, I'm not ready to get some girls in their 20s, put them in a 55-gallon drum and dump animal organs on them.
Don't sell yourself short, sir.
All right, maybe someday.
Yeah, but, I the only thing I could say to make it better is when you have on Little Jimmy, and it's, man, those shows just hit. But love it, awesome. Love it.
Yep, thank you, Scott.
Look, man, I'm honored to talk to you. But what I do every day is I work in the Mission Control Center, and honestly, this show has kind of given me back a center of my week, because when you work these weird hours, it's a 24-hour day job, you're in there shoving, satellites and stuff around the earth. You lose track of what was a Monday. Weekends are meaningless. So your Sunday night show has been kind of like a center point to my week now. It's like, Sundays, that's my time.
Glad to hear it, Scott. Scott, what do you do? You sound like you're in the space industry.
Yeah, so I'm generically what's called a space vehicle engineer. You're the people that look at the telemetry coming back from the spacecraft, and you react to anomalies as well as conduct regular daily maintenance tasks, such as burns to move things out of
keep those things falling around the earth when they're supposed to be.
Yeah, so I mean, it's somebody that this everything over a long enough period of time becomes tedious, and when you just do this every day, it's like being an aircraft control and people going, "Our plane's real." It's like just But
so you're not one.
A couple things.
You're not one to believe there's a firmament and we've never sent anything into space and there is no space. You're not that guy.
Not at all, because that's my day job. It is what it is. We went, but there's a very specific reason. When these people go, they always go down a technical avenue, and it's the wrong way to go. Honestly, it's the wrong way to defend it, because going to the moon is not a technical problem. I mean, it is very technical. It's like building an atomic bomb. A very limited set of actors can do it. But we have the technical capability to do it. What we lost was the will. We got rid of this buzz-cut, steely-eyed killers that ran mission control. We went to a softer, kind of NASA that lost track of its mission and is now falling decades behind the private programs. That's what's going to get us back to the moon. But it's really no bucks, no Buck Rogers, the old saying. And, you cannot go to the moon without money. However, I want to offer you a great view of it. Not my view, but there's a guy, his name is S.G. Collins. He's a well-known photographer, kind of a liberal, D-bag, whatever, but an honest man. And he has a whole YouTube channel. You can just search S.G. Collins, and you'll find he does a discussion on, did we go to the moon? And it's beautiful. He just starts off, did we go to the moon in 1969? I'm not sure. I wasn't on the moon in 1969. And then he goes into, from a photographer's point of view, why the technology to fake it did not exist at the time.
Oh, okay.
And it's just absolutely beautiful rendition. And it just shortcuts around all the old, but what about the Nixon phone call? Yeah, it's called a phone patch, dummy. They were standing. Amateur radio does it,
My biggest qualm with the we didn't go to the moon guys, having successfully faked the entire moon landing in 1969, why would you then go on to do it so many more times? Like, you're doing the same magic trick in front of someone. They're going to figure it out. So why wouldn't you just go, well, we did it, beat the Soviets, went to the moon, we're done, thank you, good night. They kept doing it and then had the problem with Apollo 13 and had to fake that drama that played out. I got to go, Scott, but thank you so much for the call. Yeah, that's the part that doesn't make much sense. Doing it again and again and again and again, and then bring a car up there and drive that around a little bit, hoping that something doesn't screw up in this insane. The logistical angle on here would be insane to try to figure out how the hell to fake the moon landing, and you want to do it over and over and over again. So that's a big sticky wicket with me when it comes to this. Look, I missed Clown of the Week, but we will do it right after these words. Don't go anywhere. I got to get to, you know this feature. Of course you do. It's the most difficult thing for me to decide. All week long, I toil. I look. I search for the person that will best fill this segment. And there's so many potential winners. It's very hard to pick, but I have picked out this week's Clown of the Week.
The Anthony Cumia Show presents the Clown of the Week.
Oddly enough, this guy played quite the clown, not literally with the makeup and everything, but quite the clown in a motion picture called Dumb and Dumber. You may remember his Oscar-nominated moving his bowels. yeah, his Oscar-winning bowel movement scene in Dumb and Dumber. Of course, it's Jeff Daniels. This guy, just another actor that wants to tell you how things are, you know, what to do, how you should live your life, who's good, who's bad, from the proverbial ivory tower. They're rich. They have their own security. They're beloved by many people. It's a built-in thing. People like the characters they play. And, you know, every week another one rears their ugly head, and you go, oh, man, I kind of liked that person as an actor. What happened? And Jeff Daniels is the latest. Here he is taking such a brave stance on Trump. He's calling Trump racist and hateful. Who would do this, especially in the Hollywood community? Who would say such a thing? You could lose a gig, be cast out from Hollywood with such a crazy, wild take on Donald Trump. So let's hear what Jeff Daniels says about President Donald Trump.
I mean, look at anything that Trump's done. It plays into hatred. It plays into what's the worst possible thing we can create and then fan that flame. And that's why you've got racism and bigotry and make America, the hat should say make America white again. That's what it should say.
Make America white again. They always got to pull out this backwards racism thing where if you point out some obvious problems we have in this country, that you are instantly a white supremacist, and that's it. Make America white again. And the bigotry and prejudice in this country right now is because of Donald Trump and MAGA? What? How does that figure when, I don't know, maybe people see things and they make their own decisions and their opinions on people, regardless of color. Again, let's look at content of character. It becomes something that, what, you shouldn't talk about? And Donald Trump is the problem? Because since he's been elected, I've noticed something. I've noticed a little more freedom, a little more liberty with people's ability to speak their mind, especially on social media platforms. Haven't you noticed that? I see things posted on social media that would have gotten your ass kicked off of there. And now you look and go, oh, well, that's kind of nice. We can actually talk about some issues openly and honestly and not just be cast out. But people like Jeff Daniels see that, and they think that Donald Trump's election has made people racist and sexist and homophobic and all the other key phobias and ists. When the truth of the matter is, X was the first to jump on it with Elon and gave people this freedom that we never should have lost on social media, but we had. And now other social media platforms are coming to the table because they see a definite change, a definitive change. And it's in their best interest to allow isn't that amazing? To allow people to speak their minds on their platforms. If they start booting people off with certain opinions, they'll realize, wow, a lot of people have those opinions. And we're losing a lot of business. So I don't know how into free speech they are as much as they're into, we just don't want to lose a majority of our platform base. Because when it was all about wokeness and liberal ideology and kicking conservatives off of social media, that was the vibe of the time. The liberals were the ones that were mostly speaking and coming to these platforms in great numbers. Now it's the other way around. And they realize that it's good business sense to allow people to voice their opinions. The other thing that comes to mind is the the Colbert Show. Yeah, the Colbert Show being canceled. This is a good sign. It's a good sign that times are changing. This late night nonsense, these 3 or 4 guys that get up there on a nightly basis in front of a very small crowd of people. I mean, their ratings are terrible. And they get up there and talk garbage about conservatives and people that have differing opinions than themselves and liberals. And, of course, they're so sure that their side is right and their opinion is right that they don't even, they got yes men surrounding them. So they just keep blathering on about liberal agendas and how awful Trump is and MAGA and conservatives. And they don't have an audience. So when you got someone like Colbert, I hear tell Colbert was losing, the Colbert Show was losing upwards of $40 million a year. They put a show on, you hope it makes money, and television these days, very difficult. It's all sponsor driven, and people have gone to different places to ply their wares and sell their goods. And the Colbert Show isn't a place where a lot of people think, I could sell my stuff here. So very difficult to make money, especially when no one's watching. So they were losing $40 million a year. And then when he gets the boot the other day, he's still in there for another year. When he gets the boot, the liberals have to rationalize it in their head that he was fired because of his political stance. Paramount, who owns the show, and CBS, they were very angry with Stephen Colbert. The bosses at Paramount are more conservative. They might even be fans of Trump. Who knows? So when Colbert bashes Trump and bashes the network for shelling out millions of dollars to Trump because 60 Minutes decided to lie and Trump sued, which is great, and won his case, they looked around and said, we got to get rid of this Stephen Colbert guy. He's a liability. Well, it's not really what he was saying. Because who cares? He had a small little audience. That was the problem. Losing $40 million a year is the problem. Do you know the Stephen Colbert Show employed 200 people? 200 people to pump out a mediocre milquetoast type propaganda for the left-wing program every weeknight. 200 people. Writers, all the everyone from Colbert to someone that brings Colbert his tea and coffee. 200 people. You know how many people I have working on this show? Besides the people at the studio who are employed by the various radio stations around the nation. Me, I'm here right now. Oh, there's a dog outside. He doesn't help much. Sometimes he interferes with the program. But, there's something to be said for a entertainment personality that needs 200 people to lose $40 million a year. And then when he gets fired, the people that, the few people that enjoyed what he was doing have to blame it on Trump again, the government, the Paramount, the company that owns CBS. It's such a goof. It's such a farce. He was fired because he's not good. He's just not good. And as far as I'm concerned, my personal opinion, folks, he should have been fired halfway through that vax bit he did. You remember during COVID, I'm sure you do. We've all seen the disgusting clips. It was Stephen Colbert and a bunch of these Broadway-type dancing boys. Mm-hmm. And they were dressed up like syringes. And the title of the bit on the screen was The Vax Scene. Like, yeah, man, this is some heavy scene. And Stephen Colbert's dancing around with these, femboys, these fembots dressed like syringes, selling the vaccine to his audience through a ridiculously cringeworthy song and dance number. And in hindsight, what we know about the vaccine, the tyranny we saw from the government and local law enforcement agencies that were puppets of regime, arresting people for not having their masks on. I remember in Jersey, a gymnasium, as they call it, a gym wanted to open up and just said, I'm opening. This is my business. I'm opening. And the guy was arrested multiple times. I think people like putting that out of their mind, that we went through a time where you could not open your own business, your livelihood. You weren't allowed to go to work. And Stephen Colbert's doing a little prissy-prancy song and dance number with guys dressed like vaccine syringes. That should have been it. That should have been it right there. Goodbye. But it kept going, and all Stephen Colbert did was just toe the company line and pump that propaganda out. And I am not just calling out Stephen Colbert. They all do it. Jimmy Kimmel is a disgusting display of propaganda. Every night he gets out on that stage and does his show, he's just spewing company propaganda. That's what we see. Even stupid Jimmy Fallon. Oh, that poor bastard. You see him lately? He was in, what was he doing? He was doing a little dance number in shorts. It was embarrassing. I can't even talk about it, how embarrassing it was. But he seems like the least harmful of the rest of them. You know, what are you going to do? You're going to crack some eggs over your head like a goofy guy, and that's it. But, you know, Colbert and Kimmel, those two, toxic. And, you know, Kimmel's not doing very well either. And I could see at some point networks understand. They understand what's working. And it could change very quickly. It changed very quickly in November when Trump was elected, and in January when he was inaugurated, and when some of his policies started coming into play, especially the deportations and sealing up the border, and the support that garnered from Americans. If you're trying to make money, which is what the networks do, they try to make money, you're going to just change your tune very quickly. So they'll fire a guy like Colbert or even Kimmel if they're not giving them what they want. And you know the propaganda still gets out there. That's not the biggest point. Let's see. What do we got? We could probably take a quick phone call here. People still talking about the moon. Mario from Rockland. Mario, what's up? You're somebody that does not believe that we went to the moon.
Correct.
Right?
Although, to play devil's advocate, it is pretty hard. I mean, you can't have two. The only way you can have two people keep a secret is if one of them's dead. So
that is true.
How they pulled this off, I'll never know. But let me give you my take on it.
All right.
Real quick. Go back to the beginning. You know, the Mercury and all that business. We were in. It was during the Cold War, correct?
Yep.
So we're in a space race. The world was much larger then, not like today. Somebody farts on the other side of the world. It's on the internet 3 seconds later.
Sure.
So back then, people were not so informed, the whole 9 yards. So, and I'm basing some of this off that movie, Hidden Figures, only
right.
in the sense it showed you how, you know, if they beat us to the moon, they're going to shoot a rocket down here and kill us the whole 9 yards. Okay. So let's just talk. I mean, you were in the trades. You were a tin knocker, correct?
Certainly, yes.
Okay, let's get into just the working part of it. We went from nothing. We went from Buck Rogers. So all of a sudden, losing to Yuri Gagarin, or whatever his name was, spinning around the Earth's atmosphere.
Right, first man to orbit the Earth, yeah.
Correct. So now, like you see in the movie, you know, Kevin Costner's like, are you kidding me? These guys don't even have a refrigerator, yet they did this before us.
Right.
Now, Kennedy wanted to go to the moon. We're in the middle of the Cold War with Russia. Now, you mean to tell me, Anthony, hold on a second. We went from zero to putting guys in Tyvek suits. Tyvek, you wrap a building in. A house. They use duct tape. They use like ski gloves. It was almost like, remember the old space horror movies? And then you're looking at the thing and you're like, the whole movie was made for like $100. The guy has like a sponge.
Okay.
You know?
I get you. So continue. What are you getting at here?
Well, we went from nothing to putting, again, we totally lost. We don't know what's up there. We don't know if there's X-rays. We don't know nothing. And again, you put them in Tyvek suits with duct tapes and ski boots and the whole 9 yards, and they're walking with those things that look like vacuum cleaners, like the guys from the center of the Earth. That's the air conditioning for the Superman thing. Now, and we put them up there in X amount of years.
Well, there was a progression, Mario. There was a progression from, you know, putting simple satellites up, and I'm not talking about anything with the Soviet Union, just America. Putting satellites up, there was a lot of trial and error, a lot of error, and working things out through Mercury and Gemini and then Apollo, and advancing the technology as they needed to. I mean, yeah, the press was on. We needed to beat the Soviets to the moon.
Anthony, no, listen, I'm simplifying things just to make a point, not to keep you here all night. So, yes, of course, again, there was a progression. A lot of the ships blew up right there on the launching pad, the whole 9 yards. But again, we still had cars that barely had cars that had automatic. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you got a car with power window, you get what I'm saying. Like, we weren't as advanced. Dick Tracy had a watch that he was watching the car chase on, but it was a cartoon.
I understand. But we had enough technology, whatever we needed technologically, to actually do it in a very analog world at the time too. This wasn't digital, and it was enough to actually do it.
But Ant, hold on a second now. Okay,
all right.
That just strengthens my thing a little bit more. Now you come to today where we really do have that watch.
Yeah. We
got cell phone. Well, forget about the technology just to the average American or anybody in the world. So what was that? Forget about it. You talk about analog to digital.
Right.
And you mean to tell me they still can't put the guy there. They have to develop the world's strongest rocket ever made that they're still testing. They're constantly pushing the project back.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Now, that's the progression from 1959 to 69. And then the progression from 69 to today, we should be able to drive to the fucking moon.
All right.
So,
Mario, I gotta take a break, but I will address what you're saying on the other side, as they say. Thank you, Mario. I appreciate what he's saying. I wanna talk about this. We'll be right back with more of the Anthony Cumia Show. Yeah, Mario was just on the phone, and before the break, he brought up some concerns. Maybe how we didn't go to the moon. A lot of people talking about this. Very what a topic on the anniversary. Was it 1969 on this very day, July 20th? Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin set foot on the moon, and some people don't believe that ever happened. Just do not believe it ever happened. So Mario was talking about it, and he brings up a lot of the points that the anti went to the moon people bring up. But I think we were able to get what we needed together very quickly because, again, look, we handpicked some of the greatest scientists from a little place called Germany. From the 30s and halfway through the 40s, Germany. Werner von Braun was brilliant. You look at anything that had a rocket on it on the German side there during World War II, and Werner was he was behind it. Oh, not literally. It would have been very hot back there. But he was the brains behind it. And there was something called Operation Paperclip, and the United States said, hey, we could level this place and, just kill everyone or imprison them or give them to the Soviets. Or we could start saying, hey, boy, they sure had some good technology over there. Let's handpick a few and get them over here into the U.S. to work with us. And that's what they did. There were many amazing German scientists that had worked in the rocket program for many years. And having them was an ace in the hole. And the fact that we went from simple satellites to the Apollo mission so quickly, in a decade, within the next decade, we will go to the moon and do those other things. What other things? Marilyn? What are you talking about, JFK? Those other things. And that's what we did. I don't think that's so out of the realm of possibility that it discounts the possibility that we went to the moon. Oh, it happened too fast. The Soviets put someone in orbit very quickly. Yeah, they also had a few dead people and a dead dog, mind you. Poor little guy. And here's one of the biggest things about the moon, the lunar landing by the United States. The Soviet Union, the government of the Soviet Union, never said we didn't do it. They congratulated the United States, said, wow, what an achievement. They never said, what? It's fake. Don't you think the Soviet Union would be the people that would have looked for anything to try to say you guys are liars. You did not do this. You are not amazing. Great Soviet Union is amazing. We went to moon. You do nothing. That would have been number one. But all these nations around the world, friends and enemies at the time, never went public and said, that's a lie. Look at this. We are able to look at their telemetry. You don't think the Russians knew exactly where our space capsule was at any given moment? Of course they did. And they never said, well, look at here. Look where he goes here. It's crazy. It's not even close to where they needed to be. The capsule never left Earth's orbit. Something. But it never happened. I had enough of the moon. Enough of the damn moon. Clear the phone lines. For God's sake, we're moving on. Sorry, but, we can only talk about this for so long. With what's next? Building 7? I personally think, I get into that all the time. We got a little change in topic with the moon landing thing, but I was talking about the Trump-Epstein thing and the fact that he's saying it's a hoax. And this is already old news. We're already past this. We're on to the Russia collusion part 18, where Obama goes to prison, and it's madness. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. I do want to address the Trump-Epstein files thing. It happened last week in between my Sunday shows. So I do want to talk about it a bit. Look, I love Trump. I support him. And I hate even doing this preface before I talk about this, but there's so many jackasses that listen, and then they call you out and go, oh, that's it? You done with Trump? Would you rather have had Kamala Harris? Relax. Relax. I support Trump. I love what he's doing. There's not a scenario that you could find where I would have voted and felt like I should have voted for Kamala Harris. Ain't going to happen. Would never happen. I was talking about my good buddy, Dave Smith, good friend of mine, Legion of Skanks. He does the show over there with the Legion of Skanks guys. He's one of them. Smart guy. But I'm not going to go, hey, I apologize wholeheartedly for voting for Trump and for telling you to vote for Trump. I'm not going to do that. I'm glad Trump is in office right now. I love that the border, statistically speaking, there are 0 illegals crossing the border right now. How the hell did that happen? But I love that. I love that ICE has been given a budget that transcends many, many countries' military budget. I love it. Good. Keep it going. Get them out. And, the tariffs, I don't mind the tariffs at all. I like it. I think it's showing the world, like, you got to step up. We're not your ATM anymore. We're not your ATM. NATO, telling NATO, pay your fair share. So anytime I want to hear the word fair share, it's where NATO's concerned and not American taxpayers. So I like what's going on. But you say something you don't like, and all of a sudden you're a piece of crap, and Trump is the greatest, and you abandoned. No. Did we preface it good enough, people? Are you all right? You in control? Because I cannot stand the way this Epstein thing has been handled by the Trump administration. Cannot stand it. I feel deceived. I feel like lies were told and supporters were deceived by the Trump administration and by Trump. When he was running for office and campaigning, we heard from a lot of people, and him in particular, that it would be a very transparent administration. And, while I've heard from people that he didn't literally say, hey, the Epstein files, we're going to find out what pieces of garbage were in that, and we're going to expose it. And so, he brought up Epstein a few times and brought up these files and the flight log and who was on them. And now he told us it's a hoax. And if you want to sit there and believe what the Democrats are feeding you, that he doesn't want your support anymore. And I was saying on the internet show that this is the most childish reverse psychology thing. You ever watch those shows where there's the parents and the kids, like a sitcom, and then they want the kid to do something, so they tell him kind of the opposite, or they make it sound uncool to do what you want. Like, oh, I want the Epstein info out there. Oh, you do? No one wants that. The Democrats. What are you, Democrat? And then you're like, no, I guess I don't. Like, it's a very immature way to try to manipulate very loyal supporters. If any president's supporters were loyal, they're Trump. They're Trump supporters. The most loyal you'll ever see. We were able to see past all the I almost said the BS word, the nonsensical trial and convictions, felony convictions, and the allegations of rape and sexual misconduct, all that stuff. And we went, nope, we are voting for this guy because I like what he says about things I think are important to this country. And then it's like, really? Epstein, who? Wow, were you still following that guy? Well, then we don't want you on our team. And, anyone with half a noggin is going, oh, stop. It's so juvenile. It's an immature way to kind of try to get your supporters to get in line. And not even good. I was insulted by a lot of that. Here's Trump actually talking about the hoax and trying to get his supporters to go, yeah, it's a hoax on the Democrats, and I don't even care anymore. Let's listen to Donald Trump here.
Yeah. Will you ask Attorney General Pam Bondi to release more documents to finally put this controversy to bed?
Yeah, whatever's credible, she can release it. If a document is credible, if a document's there that is credible, she can release. I think it's good. But it's just a subject. He's dead. He's gone, and. All it is certain Republicans got duped by the Democrats, and they're following a Democrat playbook. And no different than Russia, and all the other hoaxes. They're started by the Democrats, and some Republicans, in this case I was surprised, but they got duped.
But have you talked about it? Have you talked about it with her the President, first of all, your high-ranking officials, whether it's...
Yeah, the cacophony of media there. So the Republicans, some of them, he's very surprised because Republicans are normally very smart. And Trump is very surprised that any of them fell for this Democrat hoax about Epstein. Well, you were talking about it. The Pam Bondi, who you love and think is awesome, she was dangling this Epstein nonsense in front of our face. Remember that ridiculous photo op of the internet influencers with the loose leaf folders of Epstein evidence? Here it is. Smell the glove. It's like it was a lie. You built it up to be something. And we expected to see something out of it. We expected to see people that were doing horrible things, people of great power and influence, actors, politicians, corporate heads. We were told that's what it was. And what? It didn't pan out, so now we're idiots if we got duped by the Democrats? No. I refuse to stand by and be insulted like that. You're the ones. Trump, the Trump administration, Bondi, Patel, Dan Bongino, Gino Bisconte, no. All of them were the ones saying, hey, this is something. You want the files are on my desk. Wait till you get a load of this. And what did we get? Ungats, as they say on The Sopranos. Ungats ungul. We got nothing. And then when we demanded to see something, we're told like children that there is nothing, that the other side, the bad people, are the ones that perpetrated this hoax, and you're an idiot that we don't want on our team if you mention another word about it. Well, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Another lie from the government. And, you know, it's Trump. I get it. I get it. Look, I don't like seeing Donald Trump act like a career politician either. But I don't know what else to call this. This is every single career politician you've ever seen. That's what Donald Trump sounded like, acted like, and treated his supporters and constituents like dumb children. I know you don't. Do as I say, not as I do. Shut up. This is the truth. And I'm, you know, you'll bitch at me for getting down on Trump because of this instead of going, yeah, that makes sense. Why the hell would we sit back and take this when they were the ones presenting this as a big thing? Back in a flash with a lot more and your calls, 800-848-9222. Back in a minute. You know, the Epstein files and the fact that Trump has gone on record as saying it's a Democrat hoax, and if you were bamboozled by the Democrats and you believe it, that you should no longer be a supporter of his or be a MAGA guy. I have to turn in my MAGA hat. No, I'm still a P1, a number one supporter of Donald Trump. I like what he's doing. If you think you're going to get a president, and a lot of people have this problem these days, if you think you're going to get a president that every single thing he does is everything you've ever wanted in a president, never does anything contrary to your beliefs or your wants or needs as an American, you're a mental patient. You belong locked up in a padded room because there's never been a president like that. Obviously, there are many different ideologies in the American population. And, you know, the president's just got to do what they feel is best for the country. That's what's supposed to happen. Look, what really happens, it's a whole nother animal. But you weigh it out, and I don't like the way Trump had and has been and is handling this Epstein thing. Don't like it. It seems dishonest. And it seems like he's using this juvenile form of reverse psychology to keep us on board. You're not cool if you don't believe that it was a Democrat hoax. And if you're not cool, we don't want you on our cool team. I mean, that's fifth grade stuff right there. So I don't appreciate that. Like I said, it's insulting. But right in the shadow of the Trump Epstein thing. Don't we have one more clip? I think there's one more clip of Trump talking about the Epstein thing that I had sent up to you guys. If we could play that one now. Oh, no, it was one clip. That's fine. It's pretty much the same thing. It's just a little more insulting. Anywho, the Epstein thing now is kind of in the shadow of this Russia collusion gate thing. We've seen this now for how long? 2016. Hillary, Podesta, Obama, all the usual suspects that were crying that Russia was actively campaigning and colluding with the Trump campaign to get him elected. Russia wanted Trump. They did not want Hillary. And they were very effective in their collusion and all these things. And I mean, for years, we've seen evidence to the contrary. We never saw real evidence. And we saw people like Comey and that piece of garbage Schiff and Hillary. They took to the talk shows and the podiums, and they just talked about how Russia was in collusion with the Trump campaign to bring down Hillary Clinton, who would have won in a landslide if it wasn't for Putin and the Soviets. So now, what we're seeing, as a matter of fact, Trump just posted something on one of his social media sites, Truth, I think. And it's a video of him and Obama sitting in the Oval Office, I guess when Trump was first elected, and they're sitting there in the usual seats in the White House. And then some agents come in and arrest Obama. It's AI, obviously. It's entertaining. But, this is another thing that I just cannot stand. And not just from the Trump administration, from every single administration, Democrat, Republican. It's you're putting a little carrot out for the people. Look, Obama's definitely going to jail this time. Oh, Hillary's going to jail. All of them. Comey, he'll be in prison. And then we see the memes of all of them in the orange prison jumpsuits behind bars, and we all laugh and post, yeah, I can't wait to see this. Can I be frank here, people? You're never seeing that from either side. If you're a Democrat listening to this, first of all, you're insane. You're a glutton for punishment. Or a Republican. It's never going to happen. You're watching a soap opera. The government is Days of Our Lives. It's General Hospital. You watch them, and situations happen, and you go, oh, this is going to be awesome. This is finally going to happen, and it never happens. This is something that's never meant to happen. You want some type of justice? You want accountability for the government doing something wrong? Aw, that's sweet. You are adorable. It's never going to happen. If you think right now, you've been reading social media posts, if you think that Barack Obama is going to be arrested for this Russia collusion hoax, this treason, this coup. It's a coup against President Trump during his first term. Russia, collusion. You really have this fantasy of Barack Obama in an orange jumpsuit, that sound, the big metal bars on that steel track. Get out of here. Go down. Lay down. Here's your food, Barack. Here's your grub. Barack Obama making license plates. Find another. If it's a fantasy, fine. You do whatever you need to do with that fantasy in your head. But truth be told, that's never going to happen. Or to Comey, or to Hillary, or to Adam Schiff, or any of the other cast of characters on this side of the they need to go to prison scenarios. Do you remember just a couple of years ago, it was Trump and his 2016 administration and his friends and cohorts? Giuliani is going to prison. The My Pillow guy was going to prison. I mean, this was just a couple of years ago. How many times do they have to bat that tennis ball back and forth before you realize it's a big game? You're the audience watching, all captivated by it, and it doesn't really, nothing ever really comes to fruition. So enjoy it. Be entertained by it. Make some memes. Have some fun. But just like Trump didn't see prison after 34 felony convictions, Obama's not seeing prison either. And neither is Hillary. Make your memes. I love them. I look at them. I thought about it for a minute, and maybe I'm wrong, and there will be some type of justice. Justice will prevail for this treasonous act, this coup attempt using Russia and a collusion between Trump and the Trump campaign and Russia. Maybe we'll see some justice, because I know Tulsi Gabbard is on it. She's on it. So I got to assume things will happen. Let's listen. Maybe this can change my mind, because Tulsi says she's going to look into the Russiagate and seriously prosecuting the people responsible for this treasonous coup attempt. Here's Tulsi.
We are referring all of the documents that we have uncovered to the Department of Justice and the FBI for a criminal referral.
Oh, I'm sold.
Yeah. And do you believe that we will see prosecutions? I mean, our audience wants to know where this story goes from here. Will we ever see anyone held accountable for this incredible lie on the American people?
Bartiromo getting on her.
I will do all that I can, and we have whistleblowers, actually, Maria, coming forward now after we release these documents, because there are people who were around, who were working within the intelligence community at this time, who were so disgusted by what happened. We're starting to see some of them come out of the woodwork here, because they, too, like you and I and the American people, want to see justice delivered. So we're going to provide everything that we have, everything that we will continue to gather to the Department of Justice for that direct intent and that direct purpose. There must be indictments. Those responsible, no matter how powerful they are and were at that time, no matter who was involved in creating
no one's above the law.
Treasonous conspiracy against the American people, they all must be held accountable.
Yes.
So do you expect, just to be clear, do you expect indictments and prosecutions?
I'm not a lawyer. In my view, we have the evidence to be able to move forward and bring about justice. Yes, to prosecute and indict those responsible.
All right. We have whistleblowers. Whistleblower, he needed the money. Ugh. What are we listening to there? More vague nonsense. And don't be mad at me, you bastards. Don't be mad at me for saying this. Oh, Anthony, what? Tulsi Gabbard's awesome, and this is awesome, and Bondi, and what am I supposed to think? First of all, let's bring it back to the beginning of the show. I'm supposed to not believe we landed on the moon because the government lies, but I'm supposed to believe something as vague and stupid as this, that there's going to be some justice, some accountability on the part of the treasonous people responsible for Russiagate. Stop it. I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of the lying and just the misdirection. And it's both sides. They're exactly the same. I don't like saying that as much as you don't like hearing it. This is exactly like we're going to hold them accountable. Donald Trump is a felon, and we will get indictments and this and that. And would they nail him on some BS building thing, assessing his property? 34 felonies. And nothing happens. Thank God. I definitely didn't want to see him going to prison for that nonsense. But, I mean, really? You're going to see Barack Obama on the stand or taping a deposition and getting all tripped up, and they go, aha, get up, turn around, put your hands behind your back, Barack Hussein Obama. You're going to the big house. It's ridiculous. And Tulsi, how different is she from her counterpart on the Democrat side, saying the same thing? And she won't even say it right out. Because Maria Bartiromo is saying, so, just to make this clear, you plan on getting indictments. Well, I'm not a lawyer, you know. We hope to move forward and get justice. And all this nonsensical talk that means nothing as far as the bottom line goes. And you want to talk distractions or things to just, are you not entertained? That's what they're doing. Bread and circuses. We're all in the Coliseum, and we see the gladiators and the lions and the execution and the promise of action. And then, the people up in the stands, the emperor and the Senate, and they're just doing what they do. And you're fixated on Maximus. That's how this game works. And you better believe it, or you're just going to be bamboozled 1,000 times. Look, I didn't see this right from the get-go either. I was in there with everyone else. Yeah, cool. He's going to prison. Good. And then, my pillow guy. I use a pillow in prison, and I really like it. Nothing happens. There's some civil lawsuits that will break people. I've seen that. That's a shame. But, your visions of these people in the orange jumpers in prison, laying on the bunk, it's all it is. A fantasy, a meme. Whatever you want. Let's see who we got here. Casey from the big Detroit.
Hey.
What's up? How you doing, Casey?
Hey, Anthony, how you doing?
Good,
hey,
man.
Listen, you're funny, but you're absolutely right. But here's the one problem with that Russia.
Yep.
They tried to impeach the guy, and they didn't get it done. If they had control of the Senate, they would have got it done.
Right.
And so somebody has to be held accountable. Unfortunately, nobody will. And then the other thing, too, is that when he was out of office, they tried to put him in jail 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
It's crazy stuff.
It's really it is treasonous. It was a coup attempt during his first term and the collusion thing. And I think they're absolutely right that Obama apparently had this big meeting with a bunch of other people of note about keeping this Russia thing going and coming up with ideas of how to really stick this Russian collusion thing onto the Trump campaign. But it doesn't, just because it happened doesn't mean we'll ever see anything come of it as far as justice goes. We just don't. This country does not work that way. They constantly say that no one is above the law, and the example is that people are constantly above the law.
Yeah, that's sad.
It is, man. It is. How's Detroit these days?
That's all I'd say. I'd like
Casey, hold on.
Accountable.
Hold on, Casey. How's Detroit these days? I was there about a year ago, and they like talking about this renaissance in Detroit and how it's gotten better. Is it? How do you feel?
Oh, my God. I moved out here in 2013. As a matter of fact, I finalized my divorce. I lived in New York and Connecticut all my life. And I finalized my divorce on the day that Detroit declared bankruptcy. Okay. And I can't tell you the difference between 13 and now. Detroit is really starting to thrive.
Yeah.
People aren't moving in as much as you would think. But there's a lot of business and industry now, and the automakers. I think I can't tell you, it's night and day between when I moved out here and now.
What do you attribute that to? Like, is it a politician? Is it industry? Is it the people of Detroit? Like, because Detroit, I mean, that was the example of the city that just went down the toilet, and for it to come back in any way, shape, or form.
I think the problem is that it couldn't go any lower.
It bottomed out, like someone finally.
And then this mayor, Mike Dugan, took over, and he was an executive. He was a businessman.
Yeah.
And he brought the city back. You know, the street lights got fixed.
Yep.
We get garbage pickup. The streets get cleaned. You know, they've put in a light rail down Woodward.
Some of the simplest things, like the simplest.
And the biggest thing is the
basics.
Lions moved back from the Pistons moved back from Pontiac into the city. The Red Wings and Pistons now play right downtown. You got Comerica Park, where the Tigers play. It's across the street from Ford Field. It's night and day.
Yeah, well, that's great. See, it can happen. It can happen if you get somebody in there that really wants to change a city and not just perpetuate the same horrors that are going on.
Let me just say one other thing.
Yes,
okay?
sure.
They got this park, Belle Isle, which was developed by the same person that built Central Park.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and when I moved out here,
Joe Pepitone.
There was two Belle Isles. The daytime Belle Isle and the nighttime Belle Isle. And I used to go. Yes. I used to go down there at twilight for the changeover. And when
not the changeover, I get you.
And then the state took it over, and now it's unbelievable. I mean, the Belle Isle is now like Central Park was under Rudy. I don't know how it is now.
Now everything's taken quite the dip.
It's night and day.
But all right, Casey, thanks, man. Thanks for the little Detroit update, and we'll talk to you later, man. Yeah, see, it can happen. It can happen with the right people in the right places that don't just kowtow to the politically correct, woke, whatever you want to call those ancient terms. I know, but it's what it is. And you know, we're seeing New York has a decision to make in November. New York City for mayor, this Mamdani guy, this communist Muslim, he could destroy New York City. I mean, worse than it is now, and it's bad. It's bad now. And people go, well, Curtis can't win. Why? Why? No one's annoyed? Everyone I talk to in New York is annoyed with how the city is run and how terrible and dangerous and filthy it is. And if you got Adams and Cuomo and Mamdani splitting that Democrat vote, that left-wing vote, maybe if enough Republicans get off their ass on Election Day and get out there and vote for Curtis, it could happen. And anyone bad-mouthing Curtis, I don't care. Like, I don't Curtis, obviously, he isn't a perfect guy. No one is. But you tell me that Adams, Mamdani, or Cuomo are better suited to fix New York, pull it out of this mess it's in, than Curtis, then I don't know what to tell you. You're blind. Blind, deaf, and dumb is what you are. Mamdani, I guess when we come back, we got a little time before a break, but we'll talk about Mamdani and then this other guy, this guy in Minneapolis. He's another Islamic. This guy's from Somalia, and he's a socialist, a Democrat socialist, and he's been anointed by the Democrat Party to run as the Democrat candidate for mayor of Minneapolis, Minnesota. Now, Minneapolis especially, is a disaster. I guess I was schooled because I said Obama's the one that brought in all the Somalis, but Clinton had a hell of a lot to do initially with making Minneapolis and other areas of Minnesota little enclaves to collect these Somalis that are being brought over and dropped off in the United States of America, in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, and getting a foothold. And then they vote in Somalis and Muslims, and it spreads from there. It spreads from there. And it was absolutely done on purpose. No one can tell me different. Why would you take a group of people from a country and put them all in one area? Why wouldn't you distribute them so they're more apt to assimilate to their neighbors and neighborhoods? You take a Somali family, you plop them down in suburbia somewhere where they're surrounded by, your basic Americana suburbia atmosphere, and their kids go to school, they grow up being friends with people of different American cultures. You're Irish, you're Italian. But no, they put them all in one place so they retain this Islamic, this attitude that isn't conducive to being American. Sorry, it's just what it is. You could be mad at me. Feel free. Be mad. Complain. Somalis can come over here and attempt to assimilate, but if you lump them all into one area, there's no reason to. They just took what was going on in Somalia and brought it here. And how is that any good for anybody? But that's what's happening. And they're electing people and filling offices with people that have no want or need to continue the American way of life. They want to turn these towns and cities and then states into what they left, the horrors of what they left, the tyranny of Islamic State, the poverty of sub-Saharan Africa. And then they come here and just want to business as usual, continue it. I understand you want to move into a nice neighborhood, and believe me, this whole big racism thing isn't happening. Neighbors, if immigrants move in, they aren't going to just start going, "Hey, you, we want you out of here." They'd be the first ones to go, "Hi, how are you? Oh, you got kids? Oh, come over for a barbecue. Keep the lawn nice. Work for a living. Don't be detrimental to our little neighborhood." And everything's fine. But they didn't do that. On purpose, they lumped them into one area so it can spread. So it could be in one spot and branch out and spread. And that's what they're doing. And this idiot, we'll talk about him when we come back from the break. This guy running for mayor in Minneapolis, because he's another winner just like them, Danny. Back in a flash with more of the Anthony Cumia Show. Don't go nowheres. Go to the phones. Detective Nolan, New York City. What's up, sir?
Good evening, Anthony. Regarding your point you raised about there's going to be no prosecution and Tulsi Gabbard already making excuses after the referral.
Yep.
The best example in recent history is Tony Bobulinski. Here's a guy that was a first-hand witness involved with all the chicanery with the Bidens, went on Tucker's show, made his points, was willing to testify, and still no prosecutions came from whatever and this is a witness, not a whistleblower, a witness.
Right, a witness. Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter. They constantly say that no one is above the law, no one's too big, no one is. They say it all the time, and what do we see? That people are above the law, that there are witnesses to crimes that were committed, and no one is ever held accountable for it. It's disgusting.
Yeah. Only what will happen is lower people. People who are either managers or regular folk, they'll see some type of discipline. And who knows what kind of discipline that's going to be.
Yeah, they surround themselves with people that take the hit for them. People like, obviously Hillary and Comey, all of them. They all have people, fall guys, around them that take the hit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks, man. Here goes Detective Nolan. This guy, this Minneapolis candidate, I don't even know his name. I'm so tired of trying to learn these names. Like, now I just call Memdani, because I don't want to be troubled with having to remember the first ridiculous name either. So now it's just like, oh, yeah, that Memdani guy. This guy I haven't seen. I call him, obviously, it's not he's the captain now guy. He just looks like I'm the captain now guy. There's a distinct look to people from Somalia. You could crucify me. Say it's racist. Say it's this. But, boy, if you don't see it, well, get your eyes checked. There's this, like, light bulbish head. And big peepers, and the teeth are just look. I understand there probably wasn't a good dental program in Somalia, but that's the look. So whenever I see it, especially in Minneapolis, I got to think something. So here's this guy. He's the candidate, Somali Muslim socialist. He's saying that white people, of course, are the biggest threat. Here he is, though. He's just parroting what Biden's administration said about, white people being the biggest threat to America as far as terrorism goes. It's your white supremacists. First of all, I'd like to see instances of this as opposed to the unbelievable gang violence we see in just about every major city in this country every weekend. Tens, 20s of people shot over the course of the weekend. But somehow it's these people that, and to be considered a white supremacist, all you need to do is say something as insane, as oppressive, as tyrannical as it's okay to be white. That puts you in a category that you now are a white supremacist and you are one of the terrorists, the greatest danger to America. And here he is, a Somali Muslim socialist. All three of those fall into the category of people I don't want as my neighbor. Sorry. So let's see what he says about white people being a threat.
Heard them being called terrorists. We heard them being called drug dealers. We heard a lot of insults. We heard that they're a threat to our national security. And that's a flat-out lie. You want to know who the real threat is, Madam President? I'll give you a hint. They don't look like our chief author. They don't look like the folks up in the gallery. They don't look like the folks on the rotunda. They look like many of the members that sit in the front. And you don't have to take my word for it. According to DHS, Madam President, the greatest domestic threat facing the United States comes from, quote, racially or ethnically motivated violent extremists, specifically those who advocate for the superiority of the white race. Not our immigrants.
All right. We get it. Of course. Bad white people. That's who it is. All right. Well, there he is. Enjoy Minneapolis. He's going to be your mayor because I have no doubt that he will win. Minneapolis will vote him in. They'll have a big party, and they can continue swirling down the proverbial toilet bowl. Eric in Orlando has something to say about Omar Fatah. What's his name, Eric?
Omar Fatifa, it looks like.
Fatih.
I think that's how you pronounce it. But I just happened to be watching that Captain Phillips movie based on that true story, you know, the one with Tom Hanks where the Somali pirates hijacked them.
Yes.
This guy looks like the band leader who's trying to hold up the ship.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's been a thing that the second his face was put on television, we went, oh, yeah, that's the same guy. It's the Somali kind of look. I don't know where it comes from. I know that certain societies have gotten a common look over the course of the years through, maybe some incestuous thing, a little inbreeding, perhaps. I don't know.
He's got like a little head and chiclet teeth. It's creepy.
It's the I'm the Captain Now guy. Yeah. Remember that guy? When Captain Phillips was released and then the Oscars that year, they brought that I'm the Captain Now guy to the Oscars and they gussied him up because he was a real Somali guy. He just was they plucked him off a beach somewhere in Somalia or some crappy tin roof city. And he was the talk of the town. Everyone wanted to be around him and take pictures of him saying, I'm the captain now. And then, that was it. Okay, goodbye. That's how Hollywood works.
He's got a shot in Minneapolis now. Look out, world.
Oh, yeah, please. He'd be big. And maybe he lives there. I wouldn't doubt he lives there. We'll look that up for you. Thank you,
Anthony.
Eric. Appreciate the call, man. Yeah, the I'm the Captain Now guy. The real funny thing, as far as this election goes, is Jacob Frey, or is it Fry, the Democrat mayor of Minneapolis, that just lost the primary. I mean, this guy now has the Democrat ticket. He's the mayor that was crying on his knees, head against the casket of a one George Floyd. And he was weeping, bawling. What do they call it? When you're just you're crying. It's not even crying. It's way above crying. Bawling. Yes, bawling. That was him. I guess he thought that would help him out over the course of the years. Well, they quickly forget about beta liberal pathetic white guy crying at George Floyd's casket when a Somali guy comes up and can put two words together, and he's now the head muckety-muck for the Dem ticket for mayor. So good luck. Good luck there. I guess that's about it for Minneapolis, but we can take a short trip from Minneapolis, hop on that plane, and let's go to New York because we have the same nightmare happening in New York. Mamdani, he's he's pretty much your number one pick for mayor at this point. You know my take. I think Curtis should be elected. I think if enough Republicans get in there and that Dem vote is split three ways between Mamdani, Cuomo, and Adams, I think Curtis has a good chance of getting in there. You just got to get off your ass, Republicans. You live in one of the 5 boroughs. Get out there and vote. Don't think it's impossible. Don't go, oh, why bother? Don't even say, like, I don't like Curtis Sliwa. You can not like him, but you want to live with a socialist, Muslim, Democrat, Mamdani guy? 'Cause that's who you're going to get. If you don't like Curtis, you got to not like that guy even more. If you're a business owner, a homeowner, someone that just lives in New York, doesn't want their head caved in with a piece of cobblestone while you're walking down the street. Maybe that's you. You don't want that. So every interview this Mamdani does is it should be the death knell of his campaign. But people just look and they love him even more. He does his cute little TikTok videos. That's what it is. Have you seen Cuomo trying to get in on this? It's really sad. Like, Curtis knows how to do it because he's just being himself. He goes out, people record him on their phones. He's talking to people about real issues in New York. Mamdani's got it down. He's got a campaign that obviously knows how to cater to youth, the youth of New York. And it's, quick cuts, funny, text on the screen, vertical videos. Not landscape videos, vertical videos. He tries to be charming and a little awkward, and the people love him. So Cuomo was trying to do it. It was so sad. He's just walking all stiff. Hi, I'm Andrew Cuomo. I was the governor. Just don't try to do these videos. Stick to because he's the guy behind the desk, with the law books behind him, and he's just pointing at the camera saying, this is why you need me as your governor. But politics now are all about this trendy look of TikTok and Instagram videos. And boy, Cuomo just does not know how to pull that one off.
Hello, I'm Andrew Cuomo.
Yeah. Hello, I'm Andrew Cuomo. And
Hello, I'm Andrew Cuomo.
Yeah, he's just stiff walking like he just took one in his pants toward the camera. Like, it's frightening. It's frightening to watch. But Mamdani, he does these things pretty well. But every interview he does, a sit-down interview, it just comes off as, why the hell would we want anyone like this as the mayor of New York? The first clip I have here is him talking about, something that some people call socialist, maybe even communist. I don't know why they'd call it this. It's abolishing private property. Yes, listen to this.
My platform is that every single person should have housing. And I think faced with these two options, the system has hundreds of thousands of people unhoused, right? For what? And if there was any system that could guarantee each person housing, whether you call it the abolition of private property or you call it, just a statewide housing guarantee, it is preferable to what is going on right now. Mm-hmm. And I think that people try and play like gotcha games about these kinds of things. And it's like, look, I care more about whether somebody has a home.
Cares more if someone has a home than your private property. If it's between housing people and the abolition of private property, well, he's for abolishing private property. This is, first of all, let's just get this straight. Thank God the mayor of any city in the country does not have the power of eminent domain. He can't just say, hey, that's a nice plot of land you got. We're taking it for public housing. So I don't know why he's even bringing this nonsense up. I guess he thinks the liberal, the dumb kids with the nose ring and the blue hair. Yeah, I know that's kind of hacky to say these days, but it is. It's the blue hair and nose ring crowd. They would look at it and go, "Oh, that's great," not knowing that a mayor cannot do that. That is way beyond the powers of a mayor of a city to try to take people's private property. He could campaign for it. He could try to talk to the people that would have to sign off on someone like that. I guess a state governor. It's probably even higher, senators and whatnot. But it just shows what kind of person he is. He has no respect for the American way, the way we do business, our capitalist society, our rights as Americans. If it's your private property, that's yours. That's yours. No one takes it. And in certain instances of eminent domain, the unbelievable amount of litigation that needs to happen in order to take someone's right of their private property away is astounding. So, asinine. It's just to appeal to the extremists on the left. Yeah, take those rich people's property and put the poor people in there. Like, that's not quite how it works. Then he was asked if, this is the dumbest question, never mind his answer. Are prisons obsolete? Now, I wouldn't even know how you would say they're obsolete. I think we know we need to put bad people in a place where they can't get to us. And that in and of itself seems to be a pert good reason to have prisons. But here's Mamdani talking about are prisons obsolete? Let's listen.
Thank you. Are prisons obsolete?
Whew. Coming through with the quotes, through with the titles of the books. I have to read that, actually. I haven't read that as yet. But I think that, frankly, what purpose do they serve? Right? I think we have to ask ourselves that, which is that, I think a lot of people who defend the carceral state, they defend the idea of it and the way it makes them feel.
So what he's saying there is that he just thinks it makes people feel good that we have this system that incarcerates people, that takes people and puts them away, almost like it's a revenge thing. Like we sit there as a society, not even somebody that's been personally affected by the crime, assaulted, having a loved one murdered, whatever it may be. And those people obviously have a reason and, a human right to want some type of revenge on someone that's done them horribly wrong like that. But he's putting it in the context that as a society, as Americans, we look at the penal system, the prison system, as just revenge. Like, yeah, you want to do that? Watch what happens to you. He doesn't see that it's necessary just to keep the most basic part of prison. Keep this piece of garbage away from civilized people. Lock them up in a place they cannot get out of long enough to where maybe it breaks them or whatever. Maybe he gets out, someone kills him. Whatever the law says, keep him away from us for as long as we are legally able to do it. And he cannot see that. He doesn't see that these people are monsters in most cases that need to be locked away. Oh, this guy, atrocious. Vote for Curtis, please. Back in a flash. Anthony Cumia Show. Mr. Joaquin in Pennsylvania. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, all right, Anthony. How you doing today?
Good, good.
You know, the whole problem is the deep state is above the law, and they're still running everything.
Yep.
And when you really think about it, Russia collusion, the Republicans could have stopped it when Trump came into office. They controlled the presidency, they controlled the Senate, they controlled the House.
Yeah.
And then what did they have? They had Jeff Sessions who recused himself. and they assigned Director Ray, and they assigned AG Bill Barr. So they're showing us that they're still in charge. And when it comes down to Epstein's death and Butler, PA, there's too many potpourris of incompetence.
Yeah, it's really the fact that they are so willing and forward to say, no, we're not conspiratorial here. Something didn't happen. We're just so bad at our jobs. Like, they're willing and able to say, it's incompetence, people. We're completely inept. We cannot do our job properly. So don't think it's some scheme. We're just stupid.
And if you want to collapse a country and a society, all you got to do is create chaos, basically let all the prisoners, release all the prisoners and criminals, into society, just like the Russian, they did during the Russian revolutions, and Russians killed more. I mean, the communist revolutions killed more people than the Nazis did. And the other thing too is that that you were talking about before. The fact of the matter is you can't speak the truth about Islam, otherwise you're an Islamophobe. And the simple truth is that certain cultures that can't coexist the way that they are. And when it comes to slavery, the truth of the matter is that in the history of slavery, it was actually the Muslims that actually facilitated the whole slave trade. The slaves were slaves in Africa before they even came here. Well, when they first came here, they were indentured servants.
Joaquin, there are many, many different opinions on who was responsible for the slave trade. You could say Islam. Other people say Jews. Other people say white people. Other people say Middle Eastern. What's the other religion? Islam. Yeah, I guess that would fit in. But truth be told, white Europeans are the ones that ended slavery,
right?
At an insane cost in lives and money, and but that's never looked at. So, we're awful.
Yeah, and quite frankly, it ended the white Western civilization, Judeo-Christian. They started ending it even long before the Civil War, because even in England, they basically said that. And the movement here in the United States, it caused a lot of bloodshed even before that. It caused the beating of that senator, I think it was, down by the South Carolina senator.
Yeah, well, there's so many instances where our country's politics, even states' borders, states being allowed into the Union, hinged on their belief of slavery or not. Having slavery or being an abolitionist. And, that was before the Civil War. So, for many, many years, people saw slavery and said, this isn't a really good thing to have. And, by the way, it continues, slavery, to this day in a lot of nations that you don't see a white person within 1,000 miles of. So that's never looked at. And if you bring that up, you're a piece of garbage, too. So.
Exactly. And the fact of the matter is that we've allowed our history, to be perverted. Our educational system, it's been taken over a long time ago.
Yep.
Even going back to when we went to school, it started falling into the hands of the leftist agenda.
Yeah.
And it's just, and this is why you have the problems that we have today. Half the country doesn't even appreciate being an American anymore, and they're buying into all this stuff.
Yep.
And until that gets changed, this is our last chance. Unless we, manage to change things now, it's never going to happen. It's only going to keep going the other way.
We will see, Joaquin. Thank you for the call, my friend. Here goes Joaquin from Pennsylvania. Yeah, I was listening to some guy talking about raising your children in this country, and he brought up a great point that you don't raise your kids. Whether that changed over time or it was always that way, I don't think it was always that way. But these days, your kids are raised by the government, whether it's the school system, what they see online, the restrictions that are put on you as a parent in things you want to do to raise your kids, homeschooling, things like that. They have made it where they are a partner. They are your partner, parent, in raising your kids, and they are with your children a lot more than you are. this guy was talking about the fact that, yeah, you have dinner with your kids maybe, you get home from work, you pat Junior on the head, ask him how he did. But truth be told, they're being raised by outside influences. And I honestly think this was initiated pretty recently, within the past couple of decades or so. You might recall Hillary Clinton, It Takes a Village. This book, when it came out, was about how, parents raise their kids, but it takes a society, a village. Meanwhile, the village she was talking about, because village is a nice word. It sounds like, oh, I could drop my kid off next door, and this woman that I know her name, I've lived next door for years, that's our little village. So that's who's raising my kids. But it wasn't a village. It's never been a village. It's the government. People you don't know. People that want to influence your kids to create little clones of them to then carry on their agenda as time goes on. And I found that fascinating because when you really look at it, how much time are parents, working parents, really with their kids to sit there with them and teach them and talk about their day? What did your teacher tell you? What lessons did you learn? What are they teaching you in social studies, if there is still a social studies, about American history? And a lot of it is stuff that the parents would never want fed to their kids. I have a few friends that have kids, and some of them are lucky enough to have been able to spend a lot of time with their kids. Their jobs gave them that liberty. It's just been watching other families having to give their kids away, send them away to some other people to teach them things you never would want them to hold near and dear to them as far as their education, values, opinions, whatever it is goes. Terrible. But, yeah, we could talk a lot more about this when we get back right after these messages. Anthony Cumia Show. Just talking about how other people are raising American kids with, I don't know, some really bad ideology and morals and ethics and things that I don't think most parents would like instilled in their kids. But the hard, cold fact is that parents don't have as much say in what their kids are learning on a daily basis. And years ago, that might have been okay because the school system was very different. I think the parents were a lot more involved in the curriculum. I think if something came up that they didn't like, they had a voice. They would say no. I know growing up, they tried, not so much in my school. I don't remember. I was barely there. But there was a lot of sexual education classes that they wanted to put in junior high, even in high schools. And the parents had the ultimate word, the ultimate say in if this was going to happen and if their child needed to attend based on what they felt. If they didn't like teachers, administrators, health, gym teachers, hey, and that's the female gym teacher. Hey, ladies, come on over here. If they didn't want that, they didn't have to have it. Now, teachers have this power to have conversations with the kids about sexual subjects, and they don't have to tell the parents. And they go to great lengths not to tell the parents. And if your kid has a problem, sexual questions, they can ask the counselors without the counselors ever having to say to the parent, hey, your kid, your son thinks he's a daughter, or whatever else might happen. But So once that happened and the parent was taken out of the equation as far as the school system went, then it really became, who the hell is teaching your kids and what are they teaching them? You don't really have a say in it anymore. And sometimes even if you take the initiative and want to go to a PTA meeting, if they even have those anymore, you're the bad guy. They'll put a scarlet letter on you that you're a sexist, a racist, a homophobe, whatever it is. And now you're the bad guy, and they can, in essence, turn that child against you without any issues. There's no recourse. You can't go to somebody. Oh, this teacher or this administrator, this counselor is telling my kid that my take on how I want to raise them is wrong and in some sense perhaps even illegal. That's who's raising your kids now. And that definitely changed over time. That's nothing that you could say, well, was it always like that? No, it wasn't. And your family, I think we had a lot closer relationships with our families back then. You have your dad, you got your uncles. And they weren't your dad, obviously, but you learned a lot from them. I learned so much from my Uncle Tony. He listens. Hi, Uncle Tony. Love my Uncle Tony. And I learned so much from him. And it wasn't an intrusion. It wasn't a brainwashing. As I grew up and got the mature ability to reason things out, and you'd have conversations with people that were older than you, and sometimes you'd listen and take a piece of advice, and sometimes you go, wow, that is really bad. But, and then you'd have your own experiences. But for the most part, there was, again, this commonality you had in family, in your neighbors. The dad that lived next door wasn't going to tell you anything so insanely different than your own family would tell you. And they weren't going to treat you differently. Isn't that? It was just this common morality, common ideology and ethics in the neighborhood. And it was never discussed. They didn't go around and go, here's what we're going to tell our kids. Are we all on the same page? It was just the way it was. That's how Americans lived. And then these extremists got into every position where they are spending time with your kids when you're not, and just twisting the hell out of their minds. That brings me to Obama. I guess him and Big Mike Obama, were on a podcast together to prove their marriage is awesome. Because there are rumors that maybe they're divorced or they're not getting along. So going on a podcast together proves it. Who am I to say? Yeah. So Obama gets on there and he says that boys need men as for guidance, but not necessarily their dads. And, okay, I could see that. Like I said, I had uncles. I had people that absolutely I trusted and took what they said and really thought about it. And it wasn't this insane stuff that was so much different than what my dad would have said to me or any reasonable adult that I trusted in my family. But Obama says boys need men besides their dads as role models. And he apparently had a role model growing up. And let's listen to Obama tell it to us.
And that's one of the things that I think a lot of times boys need is not just exposure to one guy,
One dad.
No matter how good the dad
is. He can't be everything.
He can't be everything. And then that boy may need somebody to give the boy some perspective on the dad.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
One of the most valuable things I learned as a guy was I had a gay professor in college at a time when openly gay folks still weren't out of line, who became one of my favorite professors and was a great guy and would call me out when I started saying stuff that was ignorant. You need that to show empathy and kindness. And by the way, you need that person in your friend group so that if you then have a boy who's gay or non-binary or what have you, they have somebody that they can go, okay, I'm not alone in this.
Oh, boy. See? Do you see what they're saying here? I'm no genius. I'm not sitting here going, did you catch the secret code, people? Did you hear the secret code underlying in the audio track? No, it's blatantly obvious what he's saying there. Your dad isn't the be-all, end-all of your upbringing and what a man should be teaching another man, a growing child, a boy. You need a gay professor to undermine what your father tells you. Because he even said in that quote, he goes, you need somebody to kind of put a check on your dad, on the dad. Tell you what your dad's all about. No. That's up to you as a son when you get older to have life experiences and unfortunately enough, when you have that heartbreaking moment when you realize your dad didn't know everything and perhaps he was wrong about this. The feet of clay, they call it. It's a rite of passage for any son. You don't need some gay professor. Marty, take your pants down. You don't need a gay professor to badmouth your dad. It's so subtle in how they do it. It really is so subtle in how they present this perversion of raising kids. I did it. I had a gay professor. He taught me a lot. Oh, Marty, where are the butt plugs, Marty? You don't need some other guy second guessing what your dad does to raise you. You can have other role models. I get that. But that's not what he was saying. And this goes back to It Takes a Village, the Hillary Clinton book on how your child shouldn't just be raised by the parents. They got to be raised by everybody. And the fact that the word itself, village, is a trap, a trick. I go into a village I live in. I know everyone there. I need to borrow some sugar from next door. Hey, I'm going out. My kid needs to be watched while I go to the store and come back. I have the utmost trust in the people in my village. She didn't say it takes a bureaucracy. It takes a city. It takes a government. Because people would go, how about you go screw? But a village, just people with like-minded. No, they're not. This has been a plan and a plot for decades, generations, to undermine the American family and how you hand down certain ideology and basic morality, basic laws of nature. You know when something isn't right. Everyone that lives in any type of a civil society understands right from wrong, good from bad, what you should do and what you shouldn't do. And occasionally that line gets stepped over. But for the vast majority of people, we understand that. And they hate that. They hate that gets passed down because it's so strong. A parental bond to their kid. That parent has a lot of power in influencing that kid. So what did they do? They took that power away from the parent by giving them less time with the kid, less influence when that kid is not in the direct line of sight of that parent to influence that kid. And look where we are now. You think I'm lying? You think I'm coming up with some harebrained scheme of what they're doing? It's blatantly obvious that this is what we have seen happen. Young Americans are out of their damn minds. Almost forgot the 7 dirty words George Carlin told us about broadcast radio. Yeah, it's blatantly obvious, but some people, their eyes are open, but they're not seeing it. They're not seeing it. And this is something that has been generational. You know, the slow boiling frog in the pot, whatever analogy you want to use, or this is what's been happening for a long time. And the parents used to be who didn't think the parents were the number one influence and educator of the child? And now they make it obvious that, no, we don't want that. Your kid thinks he's a girl. Your boy came to school and put on a dress, and we didn't tell you. By the way, we supplied the dress. We have a closet. We have a gender closet. And when the kids come to school, they could go in there and change out of their boy clothes and wear girl clothes. And then they put back their boy clothes on and go back to you. And then we lie to you by not telling you what had just happened. And people look at that as a great, wonderful thing. And like I said, the parents try to say something about it, and they're looked at as villains, terrible, terrible people. This is happening. This is happening, people. You gotta wake the hell up. Open those peepers. Oh, my God. Jacqueline from Brooklyn. Jacqueline, hi, dear. What's up, Jacqueline?
Hi, Anthony. You know, before I get to my point on the reason for my call, I want to agree with everything you said. And
of course.
Let's not forget, they made parents out to be domestic terrorists.
Yep.
For wanting to parent their child and their children.
The way they want to parent them. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. And it's like you say, they changed all the rules in the middle of the game.
Yep.
But what I was calling about was when you were talking about Mamdani and the mayoral race in the city of New York, the one thing that I'd like to point out to people is that recently, since the primary, Mamdani is down about 8%, and Curtis, ironically, is up within that same period of time, the same percentage. So Mamdani is falling rapidly, and Curtis is rising rapidly.
You know, Jacqueline, if the media, the mainstream garbage media, gave Curtis half the exposure they give this Mamdani guy, he'd be so far ahead in the polls. It's amazing he's doing so well with just, what is it truly? I love politicians, love throwing around, it's a grassroots campaign. Curtis is a grassroots campaign. This is him going out, shaking hands, and not in a phony politician way. He's literally listening to what the people say and what their problems are. And he has solutions for these problems, and they just will not give him the time of day. They think it's a given that this commie Muslim is going to get into office. And, I moved away. I still have kind of a nostalgic affinity for New York. I go back once a month to do a radio show and see some friends and family. So I would like to see New York wake up and come to its senses and put someone in Gracie Mansion that might know what they're doing, but I have no faith or confidence.
Well, I can share with you what I've experienced firsthand. I've been to a number of fundraisers for Curtis recently in the past several months.
Oh, cool.
And, yeah, I think people are, in the city of New York, the voters, are very much disgusted with the way New York City has been destroyed. Each one of the 5 boroughs in a similar way. It's not just Manhattan, per se. And I think Curtis is getting the exposure. I have heard him on practically every single radio station that has interviewed him. Mostly it's talk radio. He's been on also a lot of television programs. He's being interviewed. And I think the media is starting to realize they have to cover him. They have to give him media
He's
exposure.
A viable candidate now. He's not just some an also ran or something. He's a viable candidate.
And I tell you, I have faith he's going to win. He's going to be the next mayor of the city of New York. There's not a doubt about it in my
from
mind.
Brooklyn, I hope you're right. I appreciate the call, sweetie. Can I call you sweetie? Is that an old-time guy?
Absolutely.
All
I
right,
can call
sweetie.
you darling. You can call me sweetie.
Thank you, dear. There goes Jacqueline from Brooklyn. We'll be right back. Let's talk about this. Is one of the this story is frightening. A guy got pulled into an MRI machine. We'll talk about that in moments. Dave from New Jersey. What's up, Dave?
Yes, good evening, sir. There's a word for all this. It's called debauchery. To debauch, to intrude upon, to abridge my inclination for my children. Okay, to have side conversations about sex with most of these teachers who don't even have children. I have grandchildren. I pretty much debrief them every day.
You need to
find out what's going on, to find out what they're learning. I got 4 words for these folks, and it's watch out and be careful. That's the words I have for them, sir. And you have a very good night.
Thank you, Dave. Dave sounds serious. I wouldn't screw with Dave. But it's true. You need to debrief. It sounds drastic. It sounds like something, what, debrief? Parents used to say, hey, how was your day at school? Now you got to sit them down and go, okay, tell me word for word what your history teacher told you today, and here's what I need to say about that. So be careful. Be careful out there. Crazy ass story. A guy right there on Long Island, Westbury, I think, right? Westbury, Long Island. He was pulled into an MRI machine. This is something that's like Final Destination stuff. This is something when you read the signs, if you've ever had to have an MRI, what happened? My knee, man. I broke my knee, man. I broke my knee, dude. You're going to have to get an MRI. And the signs on the door are frightening enough. You read those things. You see a radioactive bomb shelter sign. You see this shadow image of a guy being twisted into a pretzel. It's frightening. It's frightening. But you kind of know there are signs. No metal in this room. If you have metal on you, do not. And then if you're the patient, you have to put on one of their little gowns with your, you tie it in the back with your butt sticking out. And there's nothing on you. And if you have any type of metallic hip implants or something, they need to know this. And then other plans are made, whatever the case may be. Metal and MRI machines, we've known about this forever. So this woman goes in to have her knee looked at. She's brought in by her husband This guy is, what's his name? Keith McAllister, 61 years of age. And he's in the waiting room. And she goes through the procedure, and at some point, she needed some type of assistance. I don't know if the procedure was done and she needed assistance getting up or what have you, but the guy walked into the room. Now, normally maybe a dime would fly out of his pocket or his little chain on his neck would fly off or an earring. This guy had a 20-pound chain. You lock up a motorcycle with this thing and a big lock around his neck. His wife had said he uses it for working out. Like you walk around with a big heavy chain, and I guess it builds strong bones and bodies. But that MRI ate that thing up in a second. He spun in. The description was he spun into the MRI machine where he was then pinned against the wall of it by his neck with this giant chain. And he expired with his wife there and the chain wrapped around his neck. Like I said, that is some Final Destination stuff right there. But who doesn't know that? And you don't just walk into the MRI room. Where was a nurse or a person that takes people in and out? I think we're going to see a huge lawsuit. From the looks of the video I saw, it looked like it might have been run by some people that maybe didn't pay a lot of attention to what was going on. I don't want to get too crazy here. But, yeah, this is a giant lawsuit waiting to happen. The door's normally locked, too. I've had MRIs, and they give you this stupid stethoscope headset so you can listen to some Molly Hatchet and Charlie Daniels music. Do you like classic rock? Do you like country rock? Put this in. And then it's just terrible quality coming through your dumb headphones. And you just lay there. It's terrible. Some people say it's claustrophobic and everything. But, it's part of what you got to do. It's a medical procedure. You got to do it. But the one thing you know never to do, everyone knows this, do not bring metal into the MRI room. And all I could hope for is there's some surveillance video that might at some point end up on the internet. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in this Sunday. I'll be back next Sunday. Don't fret. Be fretless. And we'll see you then. Thanks, everyone, back at the studio. And thank you, the fine supporters of the Anthony Cumia Show. See you next week.